Hello, friends, and welcome to Brotherly Love Gaming, the show where two brothers talk through the past, present, and future of our lives in gaming. My name is Alex, joined today by my brother Spence.
What's up, guys?
So normally we would open up the show talking about what we've been playing recently, but we've sort of both been completely consumed by Fire Emblem Three Houses. So we're gonna push that to later in the show, so we can talk about it more in depth. Because we do want to touch on a lot of news has been coming out this week, primarily the fact that Gamescom has been happening over in, I believe it's in Germany. It's like a huge European show. I think I even heard it's actually like the biggest gaming thing in the world. So lots of little pieces of information coming out. We wanted to just do like a supercut highlight reel of news. Sound good?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we're just going to start off with the fact that there was a Nintendo Indie World that aired on, gosh, what was that, Monday at this point? Monday or Tuesday? And basically a Nintendo Direct for indie games. These are kind of always a little hard to talk about since, you know, they're not heavy hitter games. You don't necessarily always know what these things are going to pan out to be. But they did announce some big stuff, like Superhot is going to be coming to the Switch. I think it's actually available immediately, so it's available now. Go get it. What was the other big one? Hotline Miami. Both Hotline Miami games are coming to the Switch. You can get a physical version of that through Special Reserve Games coming sometime in the future. I don't know exactly when. They haven't announced that yet, so check their Twitter for updates. Something I'm very excited about, Ori and the Blind Forest, finally coming to Switch after being rumored for quite a while. And Spence, you perked up a little bit when I mentioned to you that Risk of Rain 2 was going to be coming to the Switch. That's something that you talked about before.
I did. Yeah, so I've played that on Steam a lot. They've been releasing a lot of decent content for it, actually. They came out with some characters and stuff like that, some updates that were pretty nice. I don't know how it's going to be on Switch since it's primarily like online. It's a dungeon runner basically, and with like the online system, I don't know how that's going to work for Switch, but I'm pretty excited to see how it pans out.
Right. And so it's entirely a co-op game, or it's like meant to be played as a co-op game?
It's meant to be played as co-op. You can do solo runs, but it's not as easy, I want to say. It's a lot more difficult because you're kind of controlling everything,
Right. Yeah, that kind of stuff interests me on Switch in particular because of the fact that like I typically play the Switch and I'm like playing it in 20-minute bursts basically. So
something that you're not going to be able to do.
Yeah, I can't imagine that would work, especially like you can't really pick up and play a co-op game necessarily. You're going to have to schedule some time for that, so and of course, as has been discussed with other games, even with Fire Emblem, which we'll get to, like the internet functions of the games you can't necessarily use if you're on the road. So yeah, I mean, it's worth a try, and everything seems to sell pretty well on Switch these days, so that'd be pretty cool if that worked out. But that's, like I said, that's the big stuff. Ori and the Blind Forest is coming to Switch on the 27th of September, and I'm probably going to be getting that one. Cool if there was a physical edition of that, but I don't know anything about that yet. Eastward was another game that looked pretty interesting. And it's coming from, I think, Chucklefish is the publishers of that one. They've been doing a lot of Switch stuff recently. So keep your eyes for that one, basically. You can look up the rest of the titles, watch the video if you want to see what else might strike your fancy. There's a lot of different stuff on there. Moving through some other Gamescom announcements, I think the same day, there was first a leak and then a confirmation that the Yakuza Collection from Japan is coming over to the West for the PS4. These are remasters of Yakuza 3, 4, and 5, which were originally PS3 games that are now coming to the PS4. Yakuza 3 digitally is available right now. 4 is coming, I think, in October, and then 5 is launching in March. And then when 5 launches in March, they're also releasing a physical edition of the 3 of them. The only way to get them physically is to buy this collection. The cool thing, though, in my opinion, well, there's two cool things. The first cool thing is that it's only $60 for all 3 of those games combined, which is like insane to me considering how big the Yakuza games are. And the second cool thing is that they're also including a PS3 case for Yakuza 5 because that was never released physically in the West. So they're just giving people, hey, you already have all the other games on PS3. Well, now you have a case for 5 that you can just put on your shelf. And it's just included in the box.
That's cool.
It's weird. It's wacky, but I'm going to be probably picking that one up. Just because it's pretty cool. Also, that physical edition, which I think is coming, February, not March, February 11th, 2020. They claim it's going to be a limited print run. So we'll see what limited means to Sega and PlayStation at this point. Maybe jump on that one if you're interested in it. I think Amazon pre-orders just went up earlier today. Gonna keep my eyes peeled for that Best Buy while I still got some Gamers Club unlocked. Cool, right. Yakuza. You wanted to talk about Dead by Daylight doing a new. Is it considered a crossover? Like, what do you call this? Just a.
They're just called licenses, right?
Okay.
So
this is like a thing in the Dead by Daylight universe already. They have a name for it. Is that what you
mean? They're called chapters according to like the game creator.
Okay.
But basically there are licensed killers or licensed characters, and then there are the original ones. So the licensed ones include like Mike Myers, Ghostface, Leatherface, the pig from Saw. They have Ash from The Evil Dead now. That was the last one.
That's cool.
That was the last survivor, I think. But now they're doing Stranger Things, which is super cool. I watched the 40-minute reveal today, and they basically announced that it's going to be the Demogorgon, Steve Harrington, and Nancy Wheeler from the show. The Demogorgon will be a killer, and obviously, and then the two others will be survivors, and they each come with their own perks, along with a Hawkins Lab map for that game as well, which is super cool. My friends are super obsessed with Dead by Daylight. They all love playing it.
That's cool.
I'm not as into it, but I might get into it now that Stranger Things is a part of it because I love that show. Perks seem a little broken, but it's also not out yet. They told us that it's going to be changing, as they go through the player test beta and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see what it's like, but it looks really cool.
Right. Interesting. I don't know too much about the game besides like the premise, so like even if I had watched what all the perks and everything did, I don't know if it would have done anything for me, but we talked about how like everybody's doing like a Terminator crossover these days. So I like the fact that this is like a license that I wouldn't have thought of necessarily being used for anything.
Right.
Just like, what we're going to do.
Yeah.
That in the game. So
speaking of Terminator crossovers, Mortal Kombat announced their first two DLC characters, being the Joker and the Terminator. Which,
seems unfair.
I don't have much to say about that. I don't know. I don't have much to say about that because the Joker has been in numerous fighting games already. I'm sick of seeing it, and I'm sick of there's only 2 games already. There's already 2 games coming out that are doing Terminator crossovers that I really could care less about. So.
Aren't the Injustice games made by like the same or use the same engine as the Mortal Kombat games at least? So do they just pluck the same Joker out of that and just drop it into Mortal Kombat and then there you go?
Probably. I don't know. It's probably it's going to be more bloody, obviously, because it's actually Mortal Kombat.
Right.
But I don't know. It's weird. But speaking of crossovers, I know this is off topic, but I do want to talk about that Gears thing then, because that's crazy.
Right. Well, no, we can just move into that. I was just going to make one last joke about if the Joker thing, because obviously the Terminator is because there's a new Terminator coming out, and there's also a Joker movie. The Todd Phillips Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie is coming out soon. So, but have they shown off footage of this new Joker, or did they just say the Joker is going to be there?
They announced it, and I think they showed like a screenshot of what he's going to look like in the game. I didn't look into it. I just saw. I got a notification on my Twitter feed that said "News for you: Joker and Terminator confirmed."
Yeah, I was going to say like if are they trying to go for Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker? And I see the picture of the design. Yeah, it's kind of like a generic,
Yeah, it's
somebody's generic idea of the Joker. But all right, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I know people on Twitter were going nuts over this, calling it looks like a Joker cosplayer. All right, well, that's Joker in, in Mortal Kombat. Neat.
So
So you really want to talk about the Gear stuff? So let's talk about the Gear stuff.
So the only crossover that matters right now, other than the Dead by Daylight one, is the Halo Reach crossover into Gears. What is it? 6, 5, 5. Gears 5. Yeah. So Kat and Emil from Halo Reach are going to be playable characters in Gears 5, and I was not interested in Gears 5 at all, and now I feel like I'm being baited to buy it just because of that.
Right.
They really are, because I don't know if you ever played Halo Reach or the campaign, but there's a lot of stuff that happens with all of that squad. So being able to play as them again, since they're only in that one game, is going to be super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a bunch of people saying oh, does that mean we get a Lancer in Halo Infinite now, like the chainsaw with the
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised if they crossed it over and put a Lancer in Halo Infinite now. But I was really excited when I saw that. The character models look beautiful. They're using the same voice actors from the Halo Reach game, which is awesome. So I don't want to buy Gears 5, but I really might, just because of that.
Right. That's the kind of thing I would have expected them to have done by now, So it's kind of not necessarily those characters, but just put some Halo characters in a Gears game, Doesn't Gears also have a Terminator character, or is that?
That's what I was talking about. The other one.
Okay.
Yeah, they announced that at E3. There's a Terminator. I don't know if it's a whole storyline, or if it's just a playable character or what. I don't remember, but stop with the Terminator crap. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, well, I think it was also sort of maybe too much too fast, but no, but it is cool that they're I guess synergizing, in a way, taking Halo characters and sticking them in Gears. And I haven't played Halo Reach, but I do know that, like you said, people like those characters, and also wish they were in other stuff. So it's cool to think that not only are you getting Halo characters, but they're thinking a little bit more than just being well, let's just put Master Chief in this or something. They're what characters would the fans really want to see? Let's give them that. So that's cool. It is cool.
Yeah.
I don't have an Xbox, so I won't play it. But
but I might, cool. just because of a meal.
All right. I lost my notes. Cool. So anything else you want to say about Gears, or you think that you're good with that?
I'm good with that.
Happy as a clam.
I still have.
When does that come out? Is that this year still? That's this fall, right?
I think so. I don't remember actually, but I don't know. My standpoint still stays the same. I'm not happy with what looks to be character abilities and stuff like that, but I'm not gonna buy it on release date, that's for sure. But if I hear some good reviews and people saying that they like the new system, then I might pick it up.
It's coming out real soon. Coming out on September 10th, which
when was it?
September 10th.
Oh, so less than a month.
So that's real fast. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Alrighty, pivoting from Microsoft to Sony, we should quickly mention that Sony bought Insomniac earlier this week, the studio most recently known for the Spider-Man game on PS4 that came out last year. But they were the creators of Spyro, the Ratchet and Clank series, the Resistance series, and also Sunset Overdrive on the Xbox, which I tend to forget about because, again, I don't have an Xbox.
It was an alright game.
It
wasn't anything. Yeah, I did. It wasn't that great.
I know it has a very dedicated fan base. People that like that game a lot really like that game a lot. Because I know some people that are really bummed that Sony acquiring Insomniac means they probably will never get a Sunset Overdrive 2. I mean, the main significance of
Yeah.
this is the fact that I heard somebody mention, somebody like on the announcement, someone in like the press announced that mentioned that Insomniac was like the biggest independent developer in North America.
But
So the fact that they're now owned by somebody, um, just kind of a little bit changes up the game. Even though, like, if you had asked me, like, already, if Sony had already owned them, considering the fact that 95 to 99% of their games are already just Sony exclusives, I would have probably hesitated. Um,
yeah,
I think that probably means good things for future Spider-Man games, since Sony owns Spider-Man. Um, they'll maybe be more willing to pump in money and resources into a company they own versus just contracting the developer for it.
right.
I don't know. Do you feel like you're losing anything as someone who doesn't,
Not
Sunset
really.
Overdrive was the main
Not
thing you would
really.
have probably played, or where they did Song of the Deep, actually, which was another which is like a smaller kind of like indie game that they put out in 2016, I believe. So you got to think they're probably not going to ever do games like that ever again.
Nah,
Just
I
one-off
played. I
small
played
ideas.
probably like. I played probably like maybe 4 or 5 hours of Sunset Overdrive, and it was like fun, but it reminds me like it feels like it's trying too hard to be Crackdown,
Okay,
and I didn't like that because it wasn't Crackdown.
right,
So I don't know.
fair.
Um, I I I forgot while we were talking about Microsoft. Yesterday, I believe they added Devil May Cry 5 to Game Pass.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
So the
Yeah,
brand new Devil May Cry game that came out a couple months ago is on Game Pass. It's actually installing right now on my Xbox in the background over there.
nice,
So I'm gonna be playing that real soon, probably tonight after we're done.
nice. I got to see. Is that on just the Xbox version? If that's on the PC version of Game Pass at all? I'll have to check
I don't know.
because I have
I don't know.
that.
So Xbox sends you messages like you have in your messages. You can be like chat or messages from Xbox,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives you updates on what they add. So
Gotcha. I
they
probably have
added
that
like
turned
Devil May
off.
Cry 5 and a couple others. Yeah, they added a couple of games, but Devil May Cry 5 is the one that really like stuck out for me, and I was like, well, crap, now I gotta now I gotta
Right.
play this because I wanted to buy it, but I was like, I'll wait till it goes down, and now I can just play it. So
Go, go, go. There you go.
exactly.
Okay, so yeah, we feel so strongly about the Insomniac news that Devil May Cry 5 coming to Game Pass stole the show.
Yeah. Sorry. I got sidetracked, but I meant to mention it during the Microsoft talk. So
No. That's good. And I think that's the thing with this kind of news is you're either gonna be kind of like, I don't know what that means for me, or you'll probably be excited because it might mean they can make bigger and better games.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. Good for Insomniac. I hope that everybody got a big payday
Yeah.
for getting bought out by big money. Okay. Would you like to talk about streaming and Stadia becoming closer to becoming a thing? They did a
Man.
Stadia
No.
Connect, their version of the Nintendo Direct, except whereas Nintendo Directs are Nintendo just announcing a whole bunch of games, Stadia didn't really have too much to show off. I don't know if they showed off any exclusives actually, and if they did, it's nothing that like stuck out of my mind, enough to want me to talk about it right now. The big thing was that they said that Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be available on Stadia when it launches in April 2020. So PC people, or I guess somebody that would want to play Cyberpunk on a PC with PC quality, but doesn't have a PC that can run that, might be interested in that if you have a fast enough internet connection to be able to play it. That's kind of Stadia in a nutshell at this point, until we actually get our hands on it. Because every time we talk about it, you got to mention, if you can do this, and if you want this, and if you can do this, then it's going to be amazing for you. But otherwise, we just don't know yet.
Yeah,
We just don't know. I
exactly.
think based on the um, based on this video, it kind of confirmed in my mind, like cemented in my mind, that they're trying to just show everybody, hey, you like Cyberpunk. Hey, you like, I think Borderlands was announced. You like those games that you want to play on your Xbox, that you want to play on your PC. Well, they're going to be available on Stadia too. I think that's like the main thing that they're trying to do is convince people, the games you love or the games you're expecting to love, you'll be able to get them over here. It's kind of something it's similar to what Nintendo did like in the latter half of its first year when because they really did a ton of that game is going to come to Switch. That game's going to come to Switch. This game's going to come to Switch.
They're still doing it, but
They're
they're
still
also
doing it.
cranking
Witcher
out.
3 is just now
But they're
coming to
also
Switch.
still, yeah, and they're still cranking out all their big name games too as well. So
Yeah.
they're doing both of those while Stadia's only doing one. So
Yeah.
I don't see how anybody is. I feel like Stadia is going to be a huge letdown, in my opinion. Like I don't think it's going to sell near as much because everybody I've talked to, none of my friends even have talked to me about Stadia since it got released, like or announced. I mean, no one seems to care.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of confusing to figure out what kind of market they're going for. You have to be people that have strong internet connections, but also people that maybe haven't invested in a big PC. Like if I could afford it, I feel like I'm probably like the audience for it because, like I stream games through PlayStation Now, so I probably could do Stadia if Stadia is claiming to be better than that. And I don't have a PC strong enough to play something like Cyberpunk 2077 on a PC. But right now for me anyway, like my main hesitation is that I don't fully understand like their pricing structure because you gotta pay just to get the Stadia, and then I'm also buying Cyberpunk for full price, but I don't own it, and me being such a stickler for like ownership of things and I'm promoting, physical collection and things like that. I have a hard time being like, yeah, let me just get that. Like when I said that I stream a lot of games on PlayStation Now, primarily what I'm doing with that is it's either games that like maybe are exclusive to digital or games that like are too expensive for me to buy. There's a couple on there like that. Or games that I just like want to try out and see if maybe I want to go pick up a new version of that, like the first Legend of Heroes game, Trails of Cold Steel is on there, and there's a new PS4 version of that, like a physical copy. So like I'm gonna try that out and see if I want to pick up the physical at some point. Stadia sounds at this point like it would be too expensive for me to do something like that. I'm gonna buy Cyberpunk on Stadia to then go out and buy Cyberpunk on PS4. Like I wouldn't. Why would I do something like that?
Right.
So it depends on if they're going to be able to incentivize people with freebies or a subscription model or something like that, because they're not, like we've mentioned numerous times at this point, the way to launch a console is Nintendo Switch day one, Breath of the Wild on day one, Mario Odyssey several months later, big heavy hitter games.
I agree.
Last thing about Stadia, and then I'll move on. It's just sort of like a thing that I've just been thinking about this week since their announcements earlier this week. Is just wondering if maybe, because like I had mentioned before, that they are probably trying to highlight games people know to convince them, okay, those games are going to be here. And I think they're also doing that to give people like a benchmark for what the service could be like, because people might have an idea of like what Borderlands 3 is going to run like. So if you see that running on Stadia and it runs well on Stadia, then you're like, wow, Borderlands 3 requires blah 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 specs on a PC. I know what that's like. Stadia must be really great. But if they show off just strictly original games, then they end up hurting themselves in a different way, because people are like, well, I have no idea what that game would require to run. It could take nothing, and you could be fooling me right now. So that's just kind of another thing that I think about that puts Stadia in a very strange, and Google in a very strange position that I don't think they're necessarily handling right. So I
Yeah,
think
no, I agree.
the paid version of that, the Founders Pack, I think is what it's called, launches in, I think, November, and then it's supposed to go free, air quotes free, because you got to buy some hardware is required depending on how you want to use it. Free sometime next year, I think around when Cyberpunk comes out, if they're saying Cyberpunk is going to launch on it when it launches everywhere else in April. So it'll be out for everybody for free by April. So it's like the biggest wait and see in gaming right now, basically, is
Right.
Google Stadia. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that. And that's the big news out of Gamescom.